The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never been this quiet. Billions of species watched the meeting through holofeeds, waiting for the humans to speak. But the human seat was empty. The flag of Earth still shimmered on the display, glowing blue and white, but no representative sat beneath it. At first, the council thought it was a mistake. Humans were always late, always dramatic. They liked to make an entrance. But this was different. This was silence. The council speaker, a tall, silver-scaled being named Vernock, looked around the chamber. His voice echoed. "Where are the Terrans?" No one answered, then a murmur started. One of the aides whispered that all human diplomats had left their posts 3 days ago. Every embassy, every outpost, every listening station, empty. Even their communication networks had gone dark. The galaxy was used to humans being loud. Their music filled starports. Their trade ships crossed every border. Their soldiers had fought in every major war. But now the humans had simply stopped. The council members began to panic quietly. The humans were unpredictable, but they were also powerful. And when powerful beings go silent, others start to fear. Across the galaxy, screens flickered as human colonies went offline. Orbital platforms powered down. The words "all talks terminated" appeared on every message relay. No explanation. No warning. The galaxy realized something had changed forever. The council met in emergency session. Delegates from 100 worlds filled the chamber. Vernock slammed his claw against the table. "Find them! We need to know what humanity is planning." An insectoid ambassador from the Karath clicked nervously. Perhaps they are preparing for war." "War," Vernock hissed. "Against whom? Against all of us?" No one answered because everyone feared the same thing. The humans had always spoken of peace. They had helped rebuild worlds after the Great Collapse. They had shared technology freely. They had bled for allies who now whispered against them. And yet something in their nature made other races uneasy. A quiet fire. A sense that under their smiles was something ancient and dangerous. Now that fire had gone cold. Far away, on the edge of the Sol system, human ships drifted silently near the black edge of space. No signals left their networks. Inside, fleets moved under radio silence, their engines glowing faintly blue against the dark. Admiral Sarah Keene stood on the bridge of the UNS Vigilant. Her eyes followed the holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots marked council fleets. Yellow lines marked trade routes. Around Earth, a shimmering barrier of defense grids pulsed like a heartbeat. "Any response from the council?" she asked quietly. Her officer shook his head. "They're panicking, ma'am. The news feeds are full of speculation. They think we've gone rogue." Sarah didn't smile. "Maybe we have." No one on the bridge spoke after that. They all knew what had led to this moment. Years of insults, betrayals, and secret deals made behind humanity's back. The last negotiation had ended with the council calling humans too emotional, too dangerous. So humanity had made its choice. They were done talking. Back in the Great Hall, the council's fear grew. Reports flooded in from frontier systems. Human trade ships had recalled their crews. Colonies on the edge of alien space were vanishing from scanners. Even the Terran AI channels, normally full of chatter, whine, were silent. "This is an act of defiance," shouted one ambassador. "They are rejecting the council authority." Vernock's eyes darkened. Or worse, they are preparing something. He looked at the empty human seat again. For years, that chair had been filled with laughter and arguments. The humans were strange, yes, emotional, proud, reckless, but they had also been the heart of the council's spirit. Without them, the chamber felt cold. "Send reconnaissance ships," he ordered, "to Sol, to Mars, to their colonies. We need to see what they're hiding." The aides rushed to obey, but deep down, every species knew the truth. If humans wanted to disappear, no one could find them. 2 days later, the first scout ships reached the edge of the Sol system. They transmitted brief messages before entering human space, then nothing. No signals came back. The last transmission showed a field of satellites orbiting Neptune, each one marked with the insignia of the United Nations of Earth. The satellites glowed for a moment, then vanished into a storm of static. The scouts were gone. The council gathered again. Fear had turned to dread. Even the boldest species spoke in whispers. "They have sealed their system," Vernock said softly. "Completely sealed it. Why?" someone asked. Because, Vernak replied, staring at the empty human flag. They are done talking to us. On Earth, Admiral Keen watched as the final communications arrays shut down. Across the planet, cities glowed beneath a global defense net. Humanity was no longer part of the galactic conversation. They had turned inward, united, silent, waiting. "Do you think they'll come for us?" a young officer asked. Sarah looked at him, her expression unreadable. "They will. They always do." She turned toward the window, watching the stars beyond the black barrier. "But this time we'll be ready." The fleet's engines came alive. Massive ships began to move, not toward the stars, but around Earth itself, forming a silent wall of steel and fire. The Council had wanted peace. Humanity had given them that chance. Now, peace was over, and somewhere, deep beneath the oceans of Earth, machines began to wake. Deep beneath the oceans of Earth, in a fortress of steel buried under miles of pressure and darkness, something ancient was awakening. Giant machines, silent for decades, came alive one by one. Their eyes glowed with blue light, illuminating long tunnels that had been empty since the early days of the solar wars. Rows of robotic sentinels powered up. Submarines the size of cities stirred in the black waters. Massive hangar doors opened like jaws, releasing strange shapes into the deep. Machines built not for peace, but for survival. The humans called it Project Abyss. It had been humanity's final defense plan, designed for the day when the galaxy would turn against them. No one outside Earth knew it existed. Even most humans didn't. It was a sleeping army, hidden under the oceans, waiting for a single command, and now, that command had come. Admiral Sarah Keen stood in the control chamber, watching the activation lights flicker on a massive holographic map. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. "Project Abyss is fully online," her officer reported. "All systems reporting green," Sarah nodded. "Then the Council has forced our hand." In the Great Hall of the Council, panic was turning to chaos. Every attempt to contact Earth had failed. Scout fleets were missing. Communication relays near Sol were dead. The Council members shouted over each other, desperate to find answers. Vernak, the silver-scaled speaker, slammed the table again. "Order! We must stay united!" But unity was already gone. Several species blamed Vernak for letting humanity grow too powerful. Others demanded military action. A few even whispered of fleeing the central systems before it was too late. "Perhaps they have created a weapon," hissed an insectoid delegate, "something that blocks our sensors." "Or perhaps," replied a reptilian warlord, "they are daring us to attack." The word attack hung in the air like a curse. Everyone knew what human war meant. The last time they had been cornered, they had burned 3 enemy fleets to ash. Humanity never started wars, but when forced, they ended them brutally. The Council had hoped humans would always stay talkers, builders, dreamers. But now they were silent, and silence was the scariest thing of all. Far away on the dark side of the moon, hidden bases came online. Fast cannons rotated toward the stars. Factories under the lunar surface began producing ships faster than ever before. Drones moved like silver ants, welding armor plates and charging power cores. Humanity had stopped trading, stopped talking, stopped trusting. But they had not stopped working, from Mars to Titan, from Europa's frozen cities to the orbital yards above Earth. Every human settlement was now under one command, the Terran Union Defense Grid. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood united as one species, one purpose. The galaxy had mocked their chaos, but that chaos had always hidden their strength. Now that strength was awake. The first real sign came 3 weeks later. A small alien patrol, near. Pluto picked up a faint signal, a message from an unknown source. It was not encoded. It was not even directed at anyone. It simply played once in every major galactic frequency. A human voice, cold and emotionless, spoke just 6 words. "All talks have ended. Stay away." Then the signal cut out. The patrol captain froze. His sensors showed thousands of human ships in motion beyond the darkness. The nearest one was larger than any ship the Council had ever seen. Its hull shimmered like black glass. The name on its side was simple: TNS Retribution. The patrol turned to flee, but before they could jump, every system on their ship went dark. Then came silence. Back in the Council, those 6 words echoed like thunder. Every race received the same message. It played across starports, marketplaces, and government networks. No one could block it. "All talks have ended. Stay away." The council chamber was filled with noise, shouting, fear, confusion. What does it mean? Someone cried. Vernak knew. He lowered his head slowly. It means humanity is cutting all ties. They no longer recognize the council. They are preparing for isolation. Or for war, but why now? Because we pushed them too far, he whispered. We called them monsters. And monsters remember. On Earth, Sarah watched the last transmission fade. She knew the council would see it as a threat, but she didn't care anymore. The galaxy had taken too much. Human colonies stripped for resources. Fleets sacrificed for other species' wars. Diplomats insulted on their own soil. Now the galaxy would learn what silence meant. Are the planetary shields ready? She asked. Fully operational, Admiral, replied her officer. Nothing gets in or out without our approval. Sarah looked out over the dark blue planet below. Then let them wonder. Let them fear the quiet. She turned to the command console and entered a single word. Lockdown. Every human system, from Mars to Neptune, sealed itself instantly. Gates shut. Beacons went dark. Fleets vanished behind a digital wall of interference. The humans had disappeared from the galaxy. Completely. In the outer systems, alien merchants screamed as their routes to Earth vanished. Factories on neutral worlds that depended on human supplies began to fail. Trade collapsed. The balance of the galaxy began to shift and fear spread faster than light. Without humanity's cooperation, the Council's entire structure was cracking. And deep in the abyss of Earth's oceans, the great machines continued to awaken one by one, shaking the sea floor with the weight of a coming storm. Sarah stood alone on the bridge of the Vigilant, her face lit by the soft blue glow of Earth's defense grid. They'll come to negotiate again, her officer said quietly. They always do? Sarah nodded. Yes, and this time they'll come begging. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of something else, not anger, not pride. It was resolve. The kind of resolve that only comes when a species decides never to bow again. In the Council's darkest chamber, Vernak stared at the blank human flag. He felt a chill crawl up his spine as he whispered to himself. They were the bridge between peace and fear, and now the bridge is gone. He didn't know it yet. But across the stars, the first pieces of a new war had already begun to move. 3 months had passed since humanity ended all contact. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Trade between worlds had collapsed. Human-built engines, software, and energy cells powered half the known sectors, and without them, entire fleets were grounded. Factories stood silent. Ships drifted without repairs. Planets once bright with life began to dim. The Council met every day, desperate for answers. But there were none. The Sol system was no longer visible on galactic maps. It was surrounded by a digital void, a black sphere that no sensor could penetrate. The border shimmered faintly like a mirage, jamming every scan. Every transmission. The Council called it the Black Wall. In the Great Hall, the delegates sat in nervous silence as Speaker Vernak addressed them. Our probes vanish without trace. Every scout that enters the Sol perimeter disappears. Even our long-range telescopes show nothing now, only darkness. An ambassador from the Karath slammed his claw against the table. They have cut themselves off from the galaxy. No species can hide like this. It is unnatural. Vernak's voice trembled slightly. It is beyond unnatural. It is deliberate. A murmur spread across the chamber. He continued, the humans have sealed their borders completely. Whatever technology they used, it surpasses anything known to the Council. Then they must be destroyed, another voice growled, before they unleash it against us. The chamber erupted in chaos, but deep down none of them wanted war. Not with humans. Not again. The stories of old battles still haunted them. The human soldiers who fought even when the sky burned. The fleets that charged into hopeless odds just to protect a single colony. Every species knew one truth. You could defeat humans, but you could never break them. Meanwhile, far beyond the Black Wall, inside the Sol system, the Earth had changed too. Cities once open to alien traders were now fortified. Massive orbital platforms floated in formation around the planet. The moon's surface glittered with defense grids that could vaporize entire fleets. And deep beneath the oceans, Project Abyss continued to expand. Giant machines moved under the waves, constructing something vast, a network of colossal towers that reached from the seafloor to the clouds. Each one pulsed with energy, feeding into a global system known only to a few in command. Admiral Sarah Keene stood aboard the Vigilant, watching the endless storm clouds swirl above the Atlantic. Her officer approached cautiously. "Ma'am, the black wall has stabilized. Nothing gets in or out. Even light bends around it." Sarah nodded slowly. "Good, that will buy us time." "Time for what?" She looked out the viewport, eyes cold as steel. "To prepare for when they break it." Far from Earth, beyond the void, something stirred. In the border systems, alien warships had begun to gather, fleets from frightened nations that no longer trusted each other. They formed uneasy alliances, united only by fear of the same enemy, humanity. The Council called it a containment coalition. Officially, their mission was to observe and monitor the Black Wall. Unofficially, they were preparing for war. Thousands of ships, countless weapons, all pointed toward the invisible edge of the Sol system, but no one dared to cross it. Until one day a single ship did. It was a small vessel from the Aurelian Republic, a sleek scout ship armed with stealth tech. Its captain, young and bold, wanted glory. He believed the humans were bluffing. "Maybe the wall is just a trick," he told his crew. "If we can record proof, the Council will reward us." They crossed the border at light speed and vanished. For a full minute, there was silence on the monitors. Then suddenly the stars around the scout ship disappeared. The crew screamed. Their screens filled with static, and a human voice broke through the noise. "You were warned." A flash of light engulfed the vessel. When the Council received the last data burst, all it showed was a glimpse of something enormous. A mechanical shape moving within the darkness of the wall. It looked like a fortress, or perhaps a creature, its eyes burning blue through the void. Then the feed ended. The Council was in uproar. Vernak's claws trembled as he replayed the image. "They have created a barrier alive with machines. An entire system made of weapons. It's a threat to all of us," shouted another delegate. "No," Vernak whispered. "It's a warning." He knew what he saw, not hatred, but resolve. Humanity didn't want conquest. They wanted distance. They had given the galaxy a choice: stay away, or face extinction, but pride is stronger than fear. And soon, the Council began to plan the unthinkable, a full-scale operation to breach the wall. Inside Earth's command network, Admiral Keene received the intercepted transmission. The aliens were gathering fleets. They would come. She didn't look surprised. "It's sooner than I expected." Her aide hesitated. "Ma'am, the wall's defenses are still untested. If they attack, we could—" "We won't wait," she interrupted. "Activate Phase 2. Bring the Sentinels online." Across the seas, the Abyss towers lit up one by one. The ocean boiled as massive constructs emerged from the depths, dark shapes with wings and engines glowing like blue suns. They rose into the sky, hundreds of them, forming an iron storm above Earth. The humans had built their silence into a weapon. On the edge of the Black Wall, the alien fleets prepared to move. Commanders barked orders. Engines ignited. Thousands of ships aligned their weapons. One nervous pilot whispered, "Do you think they can see us?" No one answered. And then, from the darkness ahead, a faint signal appeared. A single human transmission pierced the void, repeating over and over, "Turn back. Turn back. Turn back." The fleet ignored it. They entered the Black Wall. For 3 seconds, their sensors showed nothing but static. Then the stars vanished, and humanity's silence ended. The fleets of the Coalition entered the darkness. Thousands of ships, and each one armed, ready, and terrified. But once they crossed the border, all light vanished. Their scanners went dead. Their radios stopped working. Even the stars were gone. Only the hum of their own engines remained. Inside the lead ship, Captain Tarek of the Vesh Dominion stared at the black void beyond the glass. "Report," he ordered. His officers scrambled to fix their systems, but nothing responded. "It's like the universe has disappeared," one whispered. Then something moved. At first it looked like a shadow passing across their hull. Then another, and another, dozens of dark shapes drifting through the silence. "Are those asteroids?" someone asked. "No," Tarek said softly. "They're moving in formation." The shadows turned. For a heartbeat, they caught the faint blue glow of engines, human engines. The crew froze. Before anyone could speak, every screen on the bridge lit up at once. A single human message appeared across all displays. Glowing in stark white letters, you were told to stay away. Then the attack began. No sound came through space, but the violence was beyond imagination. Invisible weapons struck first, tearing through the alien fleet. Ships exploded in perfect silence, their wreckage drifting like ghosts. The black wall swallowed every spark of light, making the battle invisible to the galaxy outside. Within minutes, chaos ruled. The coalition ships fired blindly, hitting their own allies more than the enemy. Their weapons passed through illusions, holographic decoys projected by human war AIs. From behind those false images, real Terran ships struck with precision. The Vigilant, Admiral Keen's flagship, led the assault. Its cannons fired beams that bent around targets, slicing through armor like paper. Drones swarmed out from the Abyss fleet, darting between enemy ships and detonating in blinding bursts of plasma. But no one outside the wall saw any of it. The galaxy heard nothing. No screams, no transmissions, only silence. Hours later, the battle was over. Admiral Keen stood on the Vigilance bridge, watching the last of the alien ships burn in the void. "Status?" she asked. "Minimal losses," her officer replied. "The enemy fleet is gone." "No survivors," she nodded once. "Good. Then we hold position. Should we broadcast a message to the Council?" "No," Sarah said. "Let them wonder what happened." Outside, the remains of the coalition drifted in the dark, slowly breaking apart. The wall absorbed every fragment, erasing all evidence. Soon it was as if the invasion had never happened. The galaxy would never know how many ships entered, or how none returned. Meanwhile, far away in the great hall of the Council, panic had reached its breaking point. For weeks, they had received no word from the coalition. No messages, no beacons, no emergency signals. The fleets had simply vanished. Vernak stood before the chamber, his voice quiet but trembling. "They are gone. All of them." The Council erupted. "They can't all be destroyed," shouted one. "Then where are they?" demanded another. Vernak didn't answer. He had seen the reports, faint broken data bursts from the edge of the wall. The last words of the coalition admiral. "We can't see. They're everywhere." Then static and nothing more. The Council began to divide. Some wanted to send more fleets. Others screamed that the humans were unstoppable. Fear turned to paranoia. Planets began to withdraw from the Council altogether. In a single month, the great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for centuries began to fall apart, and the humans said nothing. Inside the black wall, the Vigilant moved through the dark, past the wreckage of alien ships. Human drones collected data, scanning and cataloging the remains. Admiral Keen watched the report silently. "They'll try again," she said at last. "Yes, ma'am," her officer replied. "But we'll be ready." She turned toward the massive holographic display, an image of the entire solar system. Each human colony now shone with defensive energy grids. Fleets were stationed at every orbit. Factories on Mars and Titan were producing war machines faster than ever. Humanity had done what no other race had ever managed. They had built an empire inside their own walls, and they had no intention of opening them again. Months passed. Outside the wall, the galaxy suffered. Trade routes remained broken. Planets fell into chaos without human technology. Food shortages spread. Wars erupted between species that once relied on human aid. The name Earth became a whisper, half fear, half myth. Children on distant worlds were told stories about the humans, monsters hiding behind a black sky, waiting for revenge. But the truth was stranger. Humanity wasn't preparing for conquest. They were preparing for survival. Admiral Keen stood alone in the observation chamber, watching the Earth rotate below. Clouds drifted slowly over the continents. The planet looked peaceful, untouched by the chaos outside. She thought of all the years humans had begged for respect, for equality, for peace. The Council had laughed. They had taken everything humanity offered and called them dangerous. Now, that danger had a shape, a silent world surrounded by unbreakable walls. One night, deep beneath the Pacific, a pulse spread through Project Abyss. Sensors detected movement within the deepest vaults, something massive awakening. Sarah received the alert instantly. "What's causing it?" she asked. Her science officer swallowed hard. "We don't know, ma'am. It's old, Older than Project Abyss, it's something we built during the first expansion, then buried. What's its designation? The officer looked up. It's labeled Archangel. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Reactivate it. In the dark waters, the ground shook. A shape the size of a mountain began to rise from the sea floor. Metal scraped against stone as floodlights burst to life, illuminating a massive warship unlike anything built in centuries. Its hull glowed with ancient markings, and deep within its core a pulse of light, like a heartbeat, flickered awake. The ship's AI came online. System reboot complete. Awaiting orders. Sarah's voice came through the command link. Archangel, this is Admiral Keene. You've slept long enough. The AI paused, its voice calm, almost human. Confirmed. Orders? Prepare for deployment, Sarah said. They'll come again. And far beyond the black wall in the quiet corners of the galaxy, the surviving council members planned their next move, unaware that the machine waking beneath Earth's oceans would change everything. The ocean boiled. From the dark depths beneath the Pacific, a mountain of steel began to rise. Waves crashed in every direction as glowing towers of light pierced the surface. Flocks of birds scattered across stormy skies while thunder rolled above the Atlantic command base. The Archangel had awakened. It was not just a ship, it was a city of war. Its hull stretched for kilometers, forged from black titanium and human alloys forgotten by the galaxy. As the massive vessel breached the surface, seawater poured from its sides like waterfalls. Power surged across its body, lighting the sky in electric blue. Every satellite in orbit turned toward it. Every radar on Earth trembled. Deep in the command center, Admiral Sarah Keene stood before the holo display, watching the ancient ship ascend. How long was it asleep? She asked quietly. Her science officer replied, eyes wide. Records say, over 300 years, ma'am. Built during the first expansion. Designed to fight entire fleets alone. Sarah nodded slowly. And now it fights for all of us. Far beyond the black wall, the Council's new scouts were already in motion. Small, unmanned drones slipped through the outer void, sending back faint data fragments before vanishing. The images were blurry, incomplete. But one thing was clear. Something enormous was moving under Earth's oceans. In the Great Hall, Speaker Vernak stared at the projections in disbelief. This can't be real. An insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles. It is. Their technology has advanced beyond anything we've seen. If that ship leaves their planet, no world will be safe. Then we strike first, growled a warlord from the Raxan clans. Before they bring that monster to our doorstep. Vernak turned sharply. You saw what happened to the last fleet. We send another and we lose another. They are preparing for war, shouted the Raxan. If we wait, they will come for us. Vernak looked down, his claws trembling. You don't understand humans, he whispered. They don't destroy for pleasure. They destroy when they've been cornered. But the Council was already dividing again. Fear ruled logic, and the galaxy had forgotten the one rule humans lived by: never mistake silence for surrender. Inside the Sol system, preparations had reached their peak. Factories on Mars were working non-stop, producing weapons and drones. Shipyards orbiting Saturn built carriers the size of cities. On Earth, every major nation worked under one flag, the United Terran Command. The old divisions between East and West, between governments and corporations, had disappeared. Humanity had become one will, one voice, and now that voice spoke only in silence. From her command bridge, Admiral Keene looked upon the Archangel, now hovering above the ocean. Lightning danced across its hull as energy cores reached full charge. Begin systems check, she ordered. The AI's voice echoed through the comms, calm, deep, and strangely human. Primary weapons online. Planetary defense grid synchronized. Stealth field active. Awaiting deployment orders. Sarah stepped closer to the console. Archangel, what do you remember of the wars you fought? The AI paused. I remember why I was built. Humanity was alone, surrounded by enemies who feared them. They called us monsters then too, Sarah nodded. History repeats itself. Then so shall my purpose, said the Archangel. To protect. To endure. Far beyond the wall, the Council fleets gathered again. Larger than before, nearly half the galaxy's combined power. Thousands of ships aligned near the invisible border, their weapons ready. This time they came not for battle but for fear. They believed if they showed strength, humanity might back down. But they did not understand what waited inside. The moment their sensors touched the wall, a ripple of energy pulsed outward. Their screens flickered, every communication channel filled with static. Then a single message appeared, one word only: leave. Some captains hesitated. Others ignored it. The Raxan warlord ordered his fleet forward. They can't stop us all. As soon as the first ship crossed the wall, it vanished from scanners. Then the second. Then the third. Moments later, the void itself began to glow. Lines of blue light expanded outward, outlining a massive silhouette emerging from the darkness. The Archangel. The alien fleet froze as the ship appeared before them, dwarfing everything around it. Its hull reflected their own weapon fire like glass, and then, in perfect silence, it opened fire. Energy beams carved through the void. The Council ships scattered, but nowhere was safe. Missiles bent their flight paths mid-space, following targets like predators. Entire formations disappeared in blinding flashes. From orbit, the Vigilant and its sister ships coordinated the assault. Admiral Keen watched the holographic map as red dots, enemy ships, winked out one after another. Her officer whispered, "They never had a chance." Sarah didn't answer. Her face was cold, unreadable. "This isn't victory," she said finally. "This is a warning. When the battle ended, only wreckage remained." The Archangel hovered quietly in the blackness, its weapons cooling. No cheers came from the human ships, only silence. And that silence carried farther than any signal. In the council hall, the reports arrived like a death sentence. Another fleet gone. No survivors. No transmissions. Only fragments of data showing a shape the size of a moon. Vernak stood before the silent delegates. His voice broke as he said, "We have created our own end. They wanted peace. We gave them fear." He looked up at the hollow of Earth, now hidden behind the wall. "And now the humans are teaching us the cost of arrogance." No one spoke. No one dared. Because somewhere deep inside they all knew the truth. Humanity wasn't attacking. Humanity was defending what was left of itself. Back on Earth, the Archangel descended slowly, returning to its cradle beneath the sea. Admiral Keen watched from the command tower as waves rose and fell around it. "Archangel, stand down," she ordered. "Standing down," the AI replied. "Would you like me to deactivate?" Sarah hesitated. "No, stay awake. The stars aren't done with us yet." Understood. The giant warship sank beneath the waves once more, vanishing into the dark waters where it had slept for centuries. Above, the sky cleared. For a moment, Earth was calm again. But deep in the command center, a new signal appeared on the sensors. Faint, distant, coming from outside the galaxy. Sarah frowned. "That's not the Council. That's something else." Her officer looked at her nervously. "Should we respond?" She stared at the unknown signal pulsing on the screen. A call from far beyond the Milky Way. "No," she said softly. "Let's see who else is listening." For weeks, the signal pulsed across the void. Faint, steady, and older than anything in human records. It came from beyond the galactic rim, far past known space, beyond where any ship had ever returned. The signal was not Council, not alien, not even machine. It was something else. In the command center of the Vigilant, Admiral Sarah Keen stood over the hollow table, eyes locked on the transmission. "Still no change?" she asked. Her officer shook his head. "No, ma'am. It's repeating the same pattern every 6 hours. But it's adapting. Every time it shifts slightly, like it's learning." Sarah frowned. "Learning what?" "Us," he said quietly. Far beyond the black wall, the galaxy was in ruins. The Council had fractured. Entire species had gone silent. Star systems that once burned bright now floated in darkness. The humans had not spoken, not threatened, not advanced. And that frightened everyone even more. Their silence was louder than war. Vernak, the weary speaker, sat alone in what remained of the Great Hall. Once filled with thousands, now only a few delegates remained, frightened, defeated, desperate. He stared at a hollow map of the Milky Way. The Sol system was still a void of blackness, pulsing faintly with unknown energy. Around it, dead fleets drifted in orbit, a silent reminder of what fear had cost them. "We made them gods," he whispered. And now even gods have stopped talking to us. Inside the Sol system, Earth was at peace, at least on the surface. Cities thrived under blue skies. Children played under shimmering defense grids. Factories on Mars and Titan worked silently, watched over by sentinels of the abyss. Humanity had achieved what it always wanted, safety. But safety had a cost, isolation. No songs came from the stars. No messages, no trade, no visitors. The galaxy outside had become a graveyard, and now, the strange signal was calling. Admiral Keen stood before the giant display showing its pattern. A slow pulse of light, repeating like a heartbeat. What if it's not a threat? Her officer asked. What if it's a response? Maybe something out there heard our silence. Sarah didn't answer right away. She remembered history, how humanity had always reached for the unknown even when told not to. But this time the unknown was reaching back. Open a listening channel, she said finally. But no transmissions. Just observe. The crew obeyed, and then, for the first time, the signal changed. It spoke. A deep, resonant tone filled the ship. Not words, not sound, but something that every human mind understood. It was like thought turned into vibration, calm yet immense. You closed your doors, yet still you shine. The crew froze. No translation software was running, yet everyone heard it. Sarah swallowed hard. Identify the source, the AI responded. Unknown origin. Distance, 30 million light years. The bridge fell silent. Something beyond the known universe was watching. Far away, in the ruins of the council, the same signal appeared. Delegates screamed as their systems came alive with the same voice. The walls trembled with energy as the message spread across every known world. Your children hide behind walls of silence. You have feared them. You have hurt them. Now your fear is complete. Vernock stared at the light flooding the chamber. Who are you? He whispered. But there was no answer, only the faint echo of something immense moving between galaxies. On Earth, the signal grew stronger. Sensors across the solar system picked up gravitational distortions near the edge of the black wall. Massive ripples in space, like something was pushing reality itself aside. The AI aboard. Vigilant spoke calmly. Incoming object detected. Size indeterminate. Estimated mass exceeds planetary scale. Sarah's eyes widened. Planetary? Yes, Admiral, the AI said. It's not a ship. It's something larger. The screen filled with data, shapes, fragments, energy spikes, until the image finally focused. A colossal structure, shaped like an endless ring, glowing with blue light, was approaching the galaxy. They have found us, whispered one of the officers. Sarah didn't move. Her voice was steady. All fleets to alert. Prepare defensive posture, but deep down she knew this wasn't another enemy fleet. This was something beyond war. The structure stopped just outside the galactic rim. It didn't attack. It didn't move closer. It simply hovered there, emitting that same steady pulse. Across the Milky Way, every ship, every system, every being felt it. Not in their ears, but in their minds. We watched your kind rise from the dark. We saw you reach the stars. We waited for you to find your voice. But you silenced yourselves. Why? On Earth, Sarah stood frozen, listening. Her officer whispered, "It's talking to us." Sarah exhaled slowly. No, it's talking to everyone. The AI confirmed. Transmission is universal. All species are hearing the same words. The message continued, slow and calm. We are not your gods. We are not your judges. We are the ones who remember. And then something changed in the signal, a soft tone, almost human. Humanity, your silence has reached us. Do you still wish to be alone? The bridge was utterly still. No one spoke. Sarah's heart pounded. For decades, humans had hidden behind walls, building weapons, preparing for the next betrayal. But now, something beyond galaxies was asking them to speak again. She took a breath. Open the channel. The AI hesitated. You ended all talks, Admiral. Sarah looked at the glowing blue world on the screen. Earth. The last quiet voice in a broken galaxy. Maybe it's time, she said softly, to start again. Beyond the black wall, the stars pulsed once as if in reply. Every human ship, every alien system, every shattered world saw the same light sweep across the sky. A new dawn breaking through the silence. The war was over. The fear was gone. And for the first time in generations, the galaxy listened as humanity finally spoke. We're still here,